Hey everyone, this is Disc Junkie, and welcome back to Secondhand Sickness. And so today I'm shooting a kind of odd video. We are essentially sort of in the afternoon, turning over to night, which you probably can't tell because summer is so bright and it's like, the birds are out and whatever. But I assure you, it's roughly at like 6 p.m. at night, so it's sort of time for dinner. But I have been allowed access to a secondhand shop or flea market. I was gonna go to this thing a few weekends back, but I had essentially mistaken on the date. So when I actually got there on the weekend, it was closed. Turns out that they were actually open the prior weekend, and I just mixed up my dates. And so this was like a one-off thing where there was like this local sort of foundation, and they had essentially acquired this estate sale of this old house where somebody had been living, and they passed away, and so they had all of this junk and they were clearing out this old house full of stuff, and they were doing a yard sale or like a flea market of all this stuff. And so I really wanted to go because I saw some images on Facebook and felt like this might be some interesting stuff. Probably not, but you never know. It's worth checking out. And so I was a bit bummed that I didn't go to this thing, but I decided to write them on Facebook, and I got a message back saying that I could get like a private showing if I came during this weekend. So yeah, I'm actually driving there today, right now, and we're going to check it out. I have no clue as to what I might find, but I know that there were supposed to be some DVDs and potentially some videotapes. I don't expect much, but we don't know. So just stay tuned and we are going to check out what we can find. Okay, let's be honest, it wasn't actually that scary or creepy. I essentially just added some alternate music because I thought it would be fun to do something different. But as far as the house itself, it was actually very, very dilapidated. And it had actually been a theater at one point, which is something I learned just talking to the nice lady who let me into this place. But let's just go ahead and check out the finds, because even though most of the stuff is videotapes, there was actually one thing which was really, really unexpected. But let's begin with some videotapes. And I'm gonna start with the least interesting, I think. And this is essentially a retail copy of Hollow Man. Now, this is a really cool movie, which I quite enjoy. And I basically added this because I wanted to add as many tapes as possible, just to be sort of nice and not feel that she came out there for nothing when she was actually kind enough to let me in. And so this is Hollow Man, simple retail copy, probably not any kind of value in this, but I didn't actually pay much. These were essentially sold for like €1 per tape, or €0.50 even, I think. So, I'm not losing any money over this, or any sleep for that matter. And the next one is also retail tape, but this is actually one which I was really happy to find because it's tape that's been on my radar. And it is the first volume of Kill Bill. So this is Kill Bill Volume 1, small retail clam. And the reason for why I wanted to pick up Kill Bill in particular is because this is a very cool movie, and it's essentially a sort of fairly late VHS release. This is from 2003. And generally, I would say that these late era tapes are becoming more and more collectible when we are talking about sort of cool and interesting movies. Like, maybe not like, drama or comedy is going to be very collectible, but some of these cult movies like Kill Bill or other things of that nature, is, you know, something that I think people are gonna go and appreciate more and more as the years progress, because we have been seeing a general rise in the collectability of videotapes, and I just think that this is the kind of tapes that might actually become collectible one day. And for one thing, I just think it's a cool movie that I like to display with a very, very classic cover. So I wanted to own it just for that reason. And I'm actually looking to pick up the rental version as well, because this is just a retail copy, like I said. Next up is something along the same lines, which is obviously Kill Bill Volume 2. This is also a retail copy, also a tape which I've been looking to get, and I want to find this on rental as well. The only real difference between this retail version and the rental version is that the rental version comes in a slightly larger clamshell. But still, very nice find for the very cheap price of €0.50. And this even has some ads for the first Kill Bill movie within the case, which I hadn't actually realized. You can see it's actually an ad for the DVD, so this was essentially released parallel to the DVD. But let's just go ahead and move on to the last tape of this lot. Not a whole lot of tapes, but I'm still really happy about finding these particular films. Now, the last one was a bit of a surprise. I probably wouldn't have picked this up like 5 or 10 years ago, but now when I saw it and it turned out to be in really, really good condition, I couldn't really pass it up. And it is a rental copy of the all-time classic, Seven. Now, this is definitely not a collectible. I think you can find this really, really cheap, but I mean, it's a great movie. I love David Fincher, and I don't actually own this on VHS. Plus, it's a rental, and it turned out to be in really good condition in terms of the insert. There's like no stickers on it. And the thing is that when I first picked this up and looked at it, it had like stickers all over the cover. But as it turns out, they were all on the plastic. They weren't on the actual insert. So I actually took the case and just swapped it for another movie on site. Like I just grabbed another one and switched the insert, so I got this, which looked a lot more mint condition. But anyway, this is a rental version. Here we got the tape in case you want to take a look at it. And that is essentially all of the VHS tapes that I scored today. But now I want to talk about probably the most interesting find of today. And we might actually move these aside because I'm actually going to need a little bit of space to show you this. So let's just place these over here for now. So I was walking around, and as you saw from the little montage, there was quite a lot of weird stuff, like mostly trash, but we're talking old shoes, cameras, power tools, what have you. Just a really, really big mess of generally a lot of junk. That's essentially what I saw walking in. But as I'm walking around, I started looking at some of the electronics, and I know there was a really cool sort of video camera there, which was also featured in the montage. Now, I would have picked this up if it wasn't for the fact that it was sort of attached via a non-removable cord to the secondary unit, which had like the sort of like a carrying case with like the VHS in it. And the thing is that this was essentially falling apart. Like a lot of pieces were missing, and it was basically broken and cracked and stuff. So I couldn't really take the camera without taking this additional unit, and they looked like they weren't going to function on their own. So I just felt like, you know what, I'm gonna leave it. It feels like I have way too much junk anyway, so I just said fuck it. I don't really need a non-working video camera, which is essentially what this probably was. But what I did find is something which was actually much more of a surprise and much more of an interesting find for me, because this is actually something I have been looking for, and it is something known as the Canon RC260 or the Canon Ion RC260. So this is a camera, and upon first glance you might not think that this is particularly interesting. It looks like a very sort of typical camera. You might wonder like, okay, so what sort of era is this? Is this digital? Is it analog? Does it shoot on film? What's going on here? This is something very, very unique. Now, I have a couple of cameras of this same style, also from Canon and part of the sort of Ion type name. You can see that they're actually calling it, it's from Canon, but it's called the Ion Still Video Camera RC260. So this is a camera which came out in 1991, if I'm not mistaken, so it's not particularly old, or well, it is now. It's 2024, so it's very old, but I don't consider it very old in terms of camera technology. And it also came with all of its original wires, which was really cool. And now I'm gonna try to explain what this is. This came out in 1991. It was preceded by the RC250, and both of these cameras are so-called still video cameras, like I said. But what exactly is a still video camera? Well, this is not a digital camera. It is not a camera that shoots on film. Instead, this is a camera which records scan TV lines, if that's the term. And it does this on specialized 2-inch video floppy disks. Yeah, let's just wrap our heads around that. So this is a specialized 2-inch video floppy disk known as the VF-50. These were primarily used, I think, on these cameras. I don't think they were really made for anything else. And you can still find some of these. If you look for them, you can probably find them new in box. I have a ton of these, but I will say that the quality of these discs today, a lot of them seem to be unusable, probably because the sort of disk or floppy disk element of them has gotten demagnetized or whatever. I don't really know the technology that well, but it is a very, very cool and interesting concept, because this is something which I wanted to talk about, and I'm probably gonna make a reconnected video about this for my, reconnected series where I talk about technology. But just to clarify this simply, if you look at the bottom, there's essentially a small latch or a hatch here, which you can open. So I'm gonna do that like so. And then you can see it actually pops out this little discs. So here's one of these discs. And then the way it works is that you're essentially shooting with, like, you take pictures regularly, just pushing the button, but then these are saved on one of these video floppy disks, which is essentially analog. This is not a digital format. It's recording analog signals onto video floppy disks, and the only way that you can actually view these is the other weird thing about this. And I didn't actually get this cable when with this purchase, but I already had this. So this is a regular sort of audio video type cable with like the red and white for audio, and then you have the yellow for the video portion. So essentially what you do in order to view this is that you take this adapter. This does run on batteries. I think it has like a lithium battery, which is supposed to go in here. But there wasn't any battery in there, and it's very hard to find batteries. So I put this away, and then there is this adapter. So I was really lucky and happy that I actually got the original power connector thingy with this. So you run this in here, like so. You lock it in. So now you can run it on power, and you plug it in, like at the other end, there's your typical sort of power outlet type cable. So we might actually plug this in just to give you a bit of an idea of what's going to happen. So give me a moment. Like so. So now we can sort of hear this power up. Not sure how visible it's going to be. You can see a little display. So now I actually got a 1 on there. So the way this works is that if you want to take a picture, you can just set this from the play to the record mode, like so. And then it reads 42 in the display. So now I can essentially take pictures. I can just shoot one off. Yeah, see, I just click, then it switched to 43. So now I've essentially got, I'm guessing I've actually got 43 images on this. Okay, I don't know what it's doing. Now it's like 50. Okay, like I said, the technology is old, but essentially you take pictures like this, then you just switch to the play mode, so to speak, like so, and then it sort of runs a little cycle and sort of checks how many images you've taken a picture of, and this seems to be, I don't know, seems to be very not listening to what I'm doing. But in theory, you switch it to play mode, and then you can essentially attach the video cable into this thing. So here you got your typical video out. So you plug that in, and then you can just plug in your other yellow cable into your typical television, which has your video in connector thing. And then you just switch to the sort of input mode. You use the source of the AV connector. So now you can actually view your images from the camera on your standard sort of old school television, which, well, as long as you have the yellow connector, you can do that. Now, I was thinking I might demonstrate this, but I did test it out and I found that it's not displaying images very properly. It does display something, but most of the televisions I seem to have are either not very good, maybe the cable is a bit old, and I just couldn't really get a good image to demonstrate. But rest assured, I will be making a new video about this when I've checked some of the technology a bit closer. I'm definitely planning to make a reconnected video because, like I said, I have a different still video camera from Canon, which I also want to demonstrate, and I just need to sort of figure out the technology, and I didn't want to sort of leave this particular secondhand sickness video on the cutting room floor for too long. So yeah, this is essentially how it works, and I was also so happy that, you know, when I picked this up, it was just laying around like this, without the battery sort of latch on it, and I'm like, oh, that's such a shame. And I mean, seeing as I've seen these before, I instantly started looking for this, found that in the box next to it, and then I found this general box which just said Canon, like a handwritten note, and so I felt like, you know, okay, let's just rummage through it, and there's like all kinds of stuff, and I actually found the missing latch. I was so happy about this because this means that this little thing is actually complete, which is so cool. So yeah, I'm hoping I can actually put this to use, just see if I can make it work with the discs and display them properly. But it's definitely a very cool item, which I'm, you know, so happy about because I have been looking for this. I did also notice that there is a battery compartment here, which has one of these typical small silvery flat little batteries. I don't know what this battery does, but apparently there's no battery in this compartment. So maybe I can replace that once I figure out what size it is. And then maybe, you know, hopefully this will work better. I don't know. But this is essentially it. I just want to show you this amazing little technology, which is just so lost in time. And I'm just super stoked. This was definitely the most unexpected and fun item of the day. As much as I love the videotapes, this was just Christmas to me. I essentially paid €5 for this camera, and it is definitely a camera I've been looking for, so this will definitely be part of my collection. And I'm hoping I can sort of figure out more about how these work, as to why I'm getting like the error and stuff when I try to sort of plug it into TV and display the images. But it is weird, and it's old, and it's obsolete technology, which doesn't always work. But regardless of which, it's very cool technology, I gotta say. So sort of retro futuristic, and I love the design of these cameras. So yeah, that is essentially it for this video. But I really hope you enjoyed this. I certainly think that these finds were fun and cool, and even though it's just retail tapes and they probably don't mean too much for most people, they certainly mean a lot to me, and I was super happy to actually find these because I think they are cool movies. They're fun to display, great cover art, and yeah, I'm rambling, but I just wanted to sort of clarify to you as to why I think these finds are actually worth having. But that's it. I want to say thank you very much for watching, and as usual, hope to see you all next time.